right, nice job. Good set. Let's do some social kick.
Welcome back to another episode of the Social Kick Podcast. I'm Brian Lundquist. We got a full crew today. Dr. John Mullen, Luke Paddington, and Kaitlin Sandeno. What's up, Kaitlin?
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for coming on. Appreciate it. It's Christmas time in your household.
It really is. My family does not mess around when it comes to Christmas. I had to hold myself back for not putting this up before Thanksgiving. When I got back from Budapest, I'm like, hey, can I decorate the house yet? My husband's like, can we please get past Thanksgiving? So day after Thanksgiving, this was up.
One of those. I was battling Christmas tree traffic because there's a bunch of Christmas tree farms. I live in the mountains in Santa Cruz.
Oh.
And it's crazy. It was like it's beach traffic, but it was Christmas trees.
I'm very envious of that, to tell you the truth. That's when it's very Hallmark show of you to be like, oh, I live by all these Christmas tree farms. Now you're just showing off in my eyes.
Well, Speedo, we got to talk about this. So Speedo missed their Christmas present because Dressel did not go under 20 point. But did you think he was going to go under?
Okay, I have to be completely honest. I haven't been very active on social media recently. It's been really nice to take a break from it. So I saw a little bit of it yesterday. I'm like, what is this all about? So no, I haven't been following, but then it intrigued me. And I'm like, oh, I'll have to follow up to see if he breaks 20. What did he go?
John?
2 20.4s. Went 20.4 two times. It was horrible. I am very upset. I watched it and very frustrated with it because like what you were saying, I got pretty excited. They did some pretty good teasers and built this up quite a bit. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know why it wasn't live. I don't know why the suit didn't fit him well. I don't know why they didn't just make the pool 40 meters so he broke the 20. Who cares? It's not sanctioned. He's wearing a suit. Let him go 19.1 and have some excitement with it. Luke,
I didn't care about it. Why did they do it? It wouldn't count as a world record. He went 20.1, 3 weeks ago. He had a suit on. And as soon as I found out he was doing 70K this week, you got to do 70K under Greg Troy and then try and do our best time?
Why did they do it the day after ISL then? He was obviously on it. I mean,
you know what? My first reaction though was it's oh, good, he is human. You know what I mean? It makes him a little bit more relatable. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is insane. You know what I mean? And I swam with Phelps, and it's I've been around for a while, and then I'm like, Caleb just blows my mind. So I will say, I'm like, oh, okay, he does have his off days, or he isn't, the superhero every time he pulls in. So I'm refreshed by this.
I don't know. I'm just laughing because it's that suit was the super suit, and then the whole next year it was the has-been that nobody wanted, this discard. And it's how did it go from the best suit ever that broke all these world records to all these suits are way better, and then now it's back in the limelight? I'm in the camp where they should have put him in a jacket suit to
It's funny because I feel like when I start talking about the suits that I raced in, that's when I really start aging myself. You
were in a paper suit.
I'll go get my paper suits. You'll see what I talk about.
Yeah. You were in original Faskin shark skin.
Yes, shark skin when I was still pretty young. But yeah, stuff to your ankle, the one that zipped up your back. I mean, and then in 2004, I was a Nike athlete, and I don't know if you guys remember, I had that rubber around it.
The red rubber
thing on it, it would cut into my neck, and
I hated that suit.
They're hard. Just putting on that suit was harder than my actual 400 IM. Okay, the stress level was higher for that. Bloody knuckles, skin off of it. But I mean, they were fast though. I'll say that.
Totally. We got the jacket suits in 2009. Fred Biscay had just broken the world record of 50 free, and he came back. And there was this guy Rafa Munoz who was the best 50 butterflyer in the world at the time by half a second, 22.4, way faster than anybody. And Fred, he had just broken the world record in the 50 fly, and before Fred broke the 50 free, he had this red jacket suit, and he comes and tosses it to Fred, and he goes, "Here, take the Ferrari for a spin." And then Fred goes 20 point in the 50 free. It's whoa, bro. So we did all we could to get suits, and I ended up getting 9 jacket suits before NCAAs. And then that was at Texas A&M. I was on staff at the time, and I just sat in the locker room the whole meet and was helping guys just take off suits, dry them off, put them on the next guy. I mean,
crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. I remember being giddy the first time I wore one of those, like literally laughing on a Friday afternoon for me going 19 and season was crazy. But
How does athlete protection fit in with you drying off guys in their suits?
Again, he's dating himself. This was a long time ago.
Yeah, I don't know. But, okay, so if you had to put together a trade deal, what would you trade to get Caleb Dressel?
Everyone. I mean,
And yourself.
I like, honestly, let's be for real here. No, I mean, he's surreal. Like, he truly blew my mind. It was funny. I kept getting asked a lot over there, and just kind of afterwards, like when I got home, people are like, okay, is he better than Michael Phelps? I'm like, that's a really interesting question, because it's like, Michael, let's just say, even though he could do the 100, he's 200 and up, right? 200s, 200s, 200s. He even threw down those 400s and what. And not to say he couldn't do hundreds, but I mean, Dressel, not that he can't do 200s, but he's 100s and down. So that makes you the fastest man on the planet, right? Because you're a sprinter. I mean, to imagine them racing in their heyday at the same time, I mean, that would have been rad. But I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm sure you guys are getting asked that a lot.
My kids asked me yesterday, I said, Dressel is racing this thing and he's the fastest man in the world. But Daddy, isn't Phelps the fastest swimmer in the world? My kids asked me that yesterday, to your point.
That's interesting. Yeah, I know. And it's like the whole thing, like, how do you compare? And even just talking about the suits, like what Michael was wearing and then what Caleb's wearing. And, I don't know. It would be interesting to have that back in the day or presently. I bet Michael could come back. Let's be real.
Yeah, give him 6 months, he'll be good to go.
Yeah,
but
shape.
Yeah, it's such an interesting topic. I think, without getting into it too much, I think Dressel's the more exciting swimmer, just because, like you said, the fastest swimmer, so explosive off the block, and does, I think, more the user-friendly or friend-friendly races. But I think Phelps better swimmer still.
Yeah.
What do you have?
Well, one of the things that makes him so unique is how, and I remember thinking this, I never got to see Dressel up close or Phelps really that much, but I did swim in a meet with Lochte and was on a team with him, and like watching him at a short course Worlds just be able to get out of one event and then go right into the next, 15 minutes of rest. Right. Didn't have anything to do but just sit on his ankles and get ready to pop a different event. And it's like like Caleb shares that same characteristic as Phelps and Lochte did, at being able to just like do it again and again and again, and all at world-class speed and all really, really consistent.
Right.
And that's something that I'm not sure that you can just train for it. I mean, I'm sure that his training is great, but you don't just train for that. And some of that is genetic, and he's got it. And I think that's, I don't know, is that sort of, I mean, shoot, you're a GM for a sport that's like boom, 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 boom. Yeah. Is that something that you're looking for in athletes?
Well, it's interesting. I think, as a GM or just as an athlete, and I did coaching after I was done swimming, it's like, you can look at an athlete and you can almost see it in their eyes if they have it or they don't. It's confidence, it's fire, it's up for the challenge, it's the lack of self-doubt. And even being a GM with these elite athletes, I mean, I see the difference between swimmers like, yeah, I can do it. 4 events, yeah, I can do it. And other swimmers like, ooh, those are really close together. I'm already swimming 2. And I'm like, dude, I need you to step up. Like, what this league is. Like, how many swimmers we have and how many events there are. It's lopsided. Like, you have to swim a lot. Like, you're not valuable to come on my team to swim 1 or 2 events. You need to swim like 2 events a day at least. And I just think it's mentality, it's attitude, it's confidence. And it's something you just can't teach. It's like, when I was playing soccer, my soccer coach used to always put me in when there was a penalty kick. And he's like, because Kaitlin has ice water in her veins. That was just something I was born with. Like, I wasn't fazed by that. I didn't get nervous. I like that. I thrived off of that. And I think that is an athletic quality of world-class athletes. You either have that or you don't. I don't think you can really teach that. I think coaches can promote it and encourage it and nurture it, but they can't give it to you. You have to have it. And ultimately what it really backpedals to is, I think it happens when you're really young, because I think it's how you're raised. Like, I was raised feeling unconditionally loved no matter what my athletic abilities turned out. If I was first, last, DQ'd, broken record, like I was loved the same. It wasn't like, oh, Kaitlin swam really well today, we love her so much. Oh, Kaitlin didn't swim well, like she's walking home. You know what I mean? So it's like, I wasn't like afraid to let anybody down. I wasn't afraid that, if I don't swim my best, I'm not going to be worthy of love. And I think, I always felt that unconditional love from my parents and never pressure from my parents. So I just got up and threw down like at any type of like athletic type of endeavor. Like I was a huge tomboy and total athlete growing up. So it wasn't just swimming, like anything across the board, like even playing like cards or like matching games. I was like super competitive, like throwing stuff down and like, you know what I mean? I was like really into it. So I just think it's something that you're born with and that's developed at a very young age.
But you know what? When people like you do that, or when Caleb does this, Zach talked about this on a recent show. It helped him get confidence to do that and to realize it can be done.
Yeah.
It's breaking the barriers and doing that. So it helped grow him. I mean, I would never thought in my day you could swim 3 races in an hour. You don't do that. And now people are doing 3 races in 25 minutes. And now that gives you the confidence, like, really? That can happen? Well, that's not what I read, but I see it. And so it's definitely, you guys are helping to grow the sport as well, doing this fabulous stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mentality, right? So our sport has never showed that you do that. I mean, college swimming kind of gets there, I think.
Right. Yeah.
I was on a club team where we went to meets and we swam 3 to 4 events a day. Like it wasn't just like 1 or 2. Like we swam the mats all the time. So when you start breaking these barriers or these traditional meet lineups, like you said, it's like, well, somebody else can do it, you can do it, and I think now ISL is a sport where you're not just going to shave and taper like once a year. Like come ready to race and win some freaking money. Like we're trying to build up that side of the sport. Like we're trying to help you with this financial opportunity. Like shave your face. It's like, I had Zach Harding on my team and I love Zach, but he did not prep until what? And I was just like, be respectful. Everybody has their different game plan. And finally I'm like, so you think you might shave? Like, and his teammates, same. And then he did it for the last meet and he did great, but it's like, dude, you think if you would have done that for your other meets, like you probably would have paid rent for the next 3 months, So, and again, it's a mentality. We need to change the culture. Like I had a great talk with Zach Apple after, season 2 and what it means for season 3. He's like, people need to know that like you come prepared to throw down. This isn't like, oh, I'm going to train through this. Like, no, I mean, if we want to be competitive, DC Trident wants to get better. Like this is, you're coming at your best capacity to race fast.
God, it's so funny to think about other sports. We observe professional athletes being lazy or, just clearly, not making the most of the opportunity. And it's easy for us on the outside to go, oh, you're making so much money there. Like, what a huge opportunity. There's so many people vying for this spot to maximize on it. And it's funny to think about, especially those of us that all of us have been around elite swimming, to imagine yourself in that role. You don't really think about yourself as a high-end professional. You out of all of us the most for sure, and maybe you do, but I can imagine somebody like Zach Harding, like not really recognizing not to call him out, I don't know him, but like not necessarily recognizing or thinking about the huge opportunity that this is. And honestly, the message that it sends too to, up and coming swimmers, assuming that we've got some fandom that's building around the sport.
Right. And I was treading really lightly on that because I'm trying to be very respectful of it was a crazy year, right?
Yeah.
B, we don't know about the Olympics. We don't know. I mean, we're assuming it's going forward, but we can't assume anything now. We can even assume like tomorrow I can leave my house, So I wanted to be respectful that people are trying to prepare for what they think is the Olympic Games, right? And so that was obviously what Zach had in mind. And a lot. And Zach's not the only swimmer. He's just because of the facial hair.
Sure, yeah.
Comparison example. And so after whatever happens this next summer, Olympic Games and with ISL, it's like, you guys don't have to prepare for another Olympics for another 4 years. You're going to come. And it's like, I would have loved that. Imagine not having to get your ass kicked every single workout, like 11 months out of the year. You're like, oh, I'm going to rest for this meet. I'm going to rest for ISL meet. I'm going to rest for this camp, ISL camp, hard work, rest. Like, heck yeah, sign me up. I mean, I just think your body is going to recover more. You're going to be fresh. You're going to be excited. You're going to be energized. I just think this concept of ISL swimming, I think will keep swimmers more fresh into the sport. Because let's be honest, the sport gets very draining and very taxing and very tiring. And the burnout rate, I mean, if we're being truthful as swimmers, I mean, we've all experienced that. And anybody listening is like, oh yeah, there's plenty of times where I wanted, to give up. And when do we get excited? When it's taper time, And so if you can have more taper times, I just think across the board, just the swimming concept is just going to be more exciting and just more fresh, really.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, if you want to, swimming burnout is huge with injuries and all these types of things. So when we're looking at it and just creating a fun environment where, like you said, people can swim fast, they can go best times, they can be tapered, I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah.
With athletes that are post-college, a lot of times they don't have a training group. They're not sure what they're going to do next. So this gives them that team, the other athletes around them in similar spots to learn from, to grow from, and to have that continued excitement just to keep that fire burning. Because we all know with elite athletes, a lot of times around 28 to 32 is when you can peak. And we're starting to see older swimmers in the game, but obviously that is still happening and transitioning over time, where we might be able to still get the best out of some of these elite swimmers if we can keep them interested in the sport.
Absolutely. And I love what you said about the training groups, because that was a big thing. Again, obviously 2020 was a very bizarre year. Some people were training by themselves, backyard pools, et cetera, with not a lot of teammates. And that was a reoccurring theme that we had at camp. Like, I'm just so grateful to be training with people. I'm so grateful to have a team again. I'm so grateful that I could do a team cheer or relays. Everything kind of came back to not feeling alone and isolated and going about this mission like by yourself. And so when we were all together in this bubble, it was incredibly run. It was very strict. And, DC Trident had to train with DC Trident. Like, for example, I had Drew Loy on my team. Like, oh, can I go train with Caleb? But it's like, no, I'm sorry. I know he's your training mate right now. And Caleb's like, please. I was like, no, like, this is the rules. But Drew, you have Zach Apple that will keep you in check. Like, you have other amazing people to train with on our team. And so just having that environment with this ISL setup, if we continue to do these camp scenarios, which I'm sure we would for at least 2021, is that opportunity to be in this incredible training environment with 31 other athletes. I mean, there's no other post-grad team that has 31 people on a team, right? And being able to train with this common goal, I just think that's really surreal for, again, keeping the burnout in the back and keeping it fresh and keeping people energized. It's just the actual training environment and opportunities.
If there's one team that I was pretty certain would handle this 5-6 weeks in this environment and not have that mental struggle, depression, would be you guys. Just the culture I knew you guys went into. We spoke to Bob and yourself and Cindy and stuff. But surely it still took a toll, even though all the work that you did. I mean, I'm sure on week 5, the people still have issues, right? You want to talk about that, even though you made a constant effort to be happy.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a really, really good point. I was really worried about the mental state of our athletes going into this camp, being that it was going to be, we knew at least 5 weeks. So I was planning for 6. Like, I was like, all right, hubby, see you in 6 weeks. The things that we had been hearing about the NBA bubble, that these athletes were getting really bored and had nothing to do, and all they were doing was playing video games all day, and they had a sports psychologist there, like, checking on them daily. I was like, oh man, like, we need to be really on top of our athletes' mental state during this. Absolutely. So we get there, and that was like something like that I talked about our first meeting. Like, I'm gonna be checking in on you guys, just like if there's anything that is not going well mentally, physically, like, you need to speak up, be honest. And like, I would be checking on our swimmers, like, oh, this is great. I don't want to go home. This is awesome. Like, and every week it almost got even better. Like, they were getting more into a groove, more into a routine, more into like knowing their teammates more. So that was more fun and just like more inside jokes. And then they started like meeting up and playing poker together. And you know what I mean? Like, it was almost like the longer we were there, the stronger we were getting as a unit, as a team, and like the team culture, the morale, the spirit. But the racing schedule was hard. I mean, we had the 2 meets, the first meet and the second meet, where we had like a good break. And then it was like, and I was like, I was at our third meet, I think, third meet, first day. I was like, oh, damn, like, get them to the warm down pool. Like, it was getting there. And they were on it like, I'm so tired. I'm like, I get it. Like, I get it. This is a hard schedule, but also I'm a distance swimmer. I'm like, come on, suck it up, like, but I would say, as far as team morale and spirit, that was at a high the whole time through. There was a meet like that we didn't swim very well in the morning. You can kind of feel like we felt a little defeated, but I'm not even joking. Like day 2, like we were up and ready to go. Like it was like that day didn't happen. I was really proud of them the way they turned it around. They swim so much better the second day. And one of our meets was on Halloween, and they all got silly and fun and funky. And, you know, it was a really, really positive environment.
So how did you maintain that? Because like one of your key athletes got really sick and performed way below his level. You know, your captain, because he did well. And how did he manage to separate his personal disappointments, perhaps, to put the team ahead? That's remarkable for Giles.
That was hard, and Giles was open about it, you know, because I would text him. I wasn't going near him. I was texting him, you know, to see like how he was doing, and I could feel it in his text. But he was always very team first and team centered, and that's just the leader he is. That's the human being that Giles is. But he was itching to be out there. It was really hard on him. It really was. And then even when he was starting to feel better, he's like, "Well, I still don't feel really like I should be around the team yet." You know, like he was always thinking team. And you know, it was challenging. I mean, we had a lot of swimmers that didn't feel good, and it was on other teams as well. But I think too, we were fortunate that nobody on our team tested positive, so we didn't have anybody locked in their room for 14 days. You know, that I think is when the mental side would have probably gotten a little bit more challenging. I mean, granted, we were grateful that we had balconies, but I'm talking to one of the guys that's on the production team, and he has to quarantine in Australia right now, and he's like 8 days in, and no fresh air, windows that don't open, no balcony. Like he's losing his mind, you know? So we were well taken care of in our scenario with balconies, fresh air. You know, we didn't get to leave a lot, but we didn't have anybody that got stuck in their room for 14 days because I couldn't imagine what that would be like.
Hey.
Oh.
Whoa. Sorry, I killed your segue. We got to.
That's my segue.
Is Gary coming on?
You guys blow it. You guys
My
blow it.
mind is blown.
I chose the wrong one.
Yeah.
I
Hey, culture's good, but I mean, how do you measure success? Because obviously, you know, bottom half of the league for 2 years. What do you feel like the team needs to do going forward? What's like, you know, kind of itching at you, having observed like, okay, so we made it through a season, we boosted the morale. I mean, you had some losses. Like it'd be great to have Katie for more than a meet after last year participating.
Get back, Andrea.
Lost Siobhan. So yeah, what are your what's on your agenda though?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I'm a very competitive person, and I try to handle our 9th place finish with grace. But yeah, no, that doesn't sit well with me. You know, it was a huge blow losing Siobhan. Don't get me started. It was really hard to lose Andreas. Obviously not having Katie there was tough. You know, Cody had to step out kind of last minute as well. We lost 4 Australian swimmers about 3-4 weeks out as well. Like, and I don't want to make up all these excuses, but when we did have our roster together, it was a stronger roster. And then just because of 2020 and different circumstances and what we needed to do supporting, you know, these athletes, we had to let it be what it was be. And, you know, we had some scrambling, like picking up athletes last minute to come. Some of them stepped up great for us, and quite frankly, some of them didn't. You know, you have people like Zach Apple that I was so blown away by. I think Jacob Pebley swam incredible. Obviously, Amy Bilquist, Linnea Mack. And then we had some athletes that, yeah, they weren't getting first or second, but they were strong and like consistent, like Bethany Gallett, like consistent. And she was like anything we wanted them to. So yeah, moving on, looking forward, I want a stronger team, obviously, but I also have, I could only do so much the first 2 seasons. You know, I was the last GM that came into it the first season. Most of the teams were already determined. You know, Lenny's team was pretty much set. Jason's team was pretty much set. I would say Tina and I came in about the same time, but Tina really was going kind of like as the international athletes. So yeah, we were kind of like the C team with the Americans. And then that carried over to season 2, right? Because
who's the D team?
What's that?
Who's the D team?
The D team?
You said you were the C team. Who's the D team?
Well, I mean, I was saying within like the Americans, because Tina's team was breakers are predominantly international swimmers, right? There's like 2 or 3 Americans on their team.
Okay, all right.
So, and then so season 1 carried over to season 2. So Jason got predominantly the Cali Condors. Lenny got a majority of his LA Current back. And even in the recruiting process, right? It's like, well, Jason and I would call some of the same athletes that were coming out of college. And it's like, yeah, they want to go swim for Cali Condors. They're way better than DC Trident, right? They want to be on those strong relays. They want to be on this team that they know that are going to make the finals. So I understand sports. I know there's always going to be one team that's weaker. I don't want that to be DC Trident, but as a league, we cannot have these teams being so much of that huge difference between Cali Condors and DC Trident. It cannot be that much. And so as a league, as GMs, I'm really proud to say that we had some very productive meetings when we were in Budapest, how we can make the recruiting process beneficial for all teams across the board moving forward. How can we make DC Trident stronger? How can we make Alka Centaurian stronger? The fact that hopefully we'll be getting out of pandemic should just help us be stronger as it is, right? So there's definitely the ball is moving in the right direction as far as how the league can stay competitive, because who wants to watch a blowout? Even the Super Bowl, I don't want to watch a blowout. I'm just like, I'm over it. Like, I'm just going to hit the snack bar instead. You know what I mean? So I feel like moving forward, I know where my holes are. I know where my weaknesses are, and I know I need to strengthen those. And I really need to get athletes that can specialize in more than 1 or 2 events.
Who wants to watch the 400 free or the 800 free?
Who wants to win?
To watch the 400 or the 800. I know that's your events, but
yeah, no, I get that for sure. I mean, I totally get that. Yeah. I mean, it's so crazy because I agree. I mean, I will agree. But at the same time, one of my favorite races from last season was the men's 400 freestyle, because when Zane Grothy and Velimir tied, it's like, who ties in a 400? But obviously that was exciting to me because it was my team. It was my guys. Yeah. But if you're watching a sport, you want to see a close race, right? So like, doesn't get much closer than tying. The 800, that's going to be challenging. But if you have Katie Ledecky in the league and you're throwing down all these crazy new rules that it's not just a straight 800, maybe we get into it more, right? So again, I think that's what's so great about this league is that we're trying to be different. We're trying to change things up. We're trying to be fresh. We know the 800 is not fun to watch. Sorry, Katie, like, love you. And I was an 800er. I get it, but let's be realistic, as like a business side of things, the entertainment side of things. I understand that, but I think there is a way to make it more exciting.
Swim the 350. That's why he swam the 350. Now I get it. Oh,
yeah. Oh my God. That too. See, who says the 400 is not exciting?
First of all, the 800 not exciting is going to be a soundbite that Luke is going to clip now. It's going to be playing on here constantly whenever we have a distance somewhere on. But we're talking about constantly what's going to happen next with the league, what's going to happen next. But I'm intrigued to learn how the league started, from what you understand, how you were approached to become a GM, and how being a GM does work. Are you guys under contracts? What are your responsibilities? Those types of things.
Responsibility, everything.
Yeah, figured as much.
Like, I literally run our team from everything as small as getting their t-shirt sizes to their taxes. You know what I mean? Like, I don't do their taxes, but like making sure they get their W-9s. But I do their contracts. I do the recruiting. I get the staff. I do the merchandise. I do the social media. I do the accounting with an accountant. I do sponsorship. I do branding with people at the league. All the COVID testing that they had to do prior, I had to sort that through. I have to get their airports, their destination, where they need to go afterwards, their baking info. I got them paid. GMs, literally, we do it all. We really do. And it's really hard. It's really hard, but it's amazing for our sport. It's amazing for these athletes. Something that I take personally is that I really want to try to help our athletes build their brands, because a lot of them are clueless. A lot of them don't have managers. A lot of them don't have agents. A lot of them don't love social media. I mean, if you're not Cody Miller, you're really not crushing social media that hard. And so just trying to give them content and ideas and, encourage them to be consistent on it. Like, right now there's not a lot of money in swimming as far as like contracts and apparel deals and whatnot. So it's like, can we help elevate that? Can we help you? Like, a lot of them, I had to get them race suits, making calls, asking for favors. Like, can I get you an all black swimsuit? I'm placing all the cap orders. I'm connecting with all the sponsors to get the caps. Like, literally the GMs, we do it all. So it's overwhelming. It's really challenging, but as a GM, I need to start figuring out how we can start getting sponsors and money so I can start hiring and having a staff. I mean, obviously I have a staff that's a coaching staff, right? So they come just for the meet and they help for the meet. I'm fortunate that I had an amazing team manager this past year that is also a dear friend of mine and is just very passionate about the sport. And we grew up together. We grew up swimming together. So she actually did take a lot. She's helped me a lot building up to it because she was excited and wanted to help. And she's still currently like helping me like finish up the end of the year. But that's just because I have a great relationship with a solid friend, like that's not something that she's going out of her way for me, and DC Trident. And then as far as it all came together, it's my understanding that this vision or this dream really stemmed from Energy Standard, because Constantine had this team, right? But he didn't have anybody for this team to race. They could go to meets and represent, but like, what does that really do?
It's like equestrian or like synchronized swimming.
To make the league.
Exactly. When you have
the Harlem Globetrotters with who were the teams they played back when?
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, obviously I know a lot of thought went into this and whatnot. And he did a meet in Rome, was that 2017, 18? You guys might know better than me. And then kind of like as a trial run to kind of test it out and invited out some Americans. It was like US versus Europe or something. And then Jason and Lenny came on board in 2018. And that's when I first really started hearing about it because I'm dear friends with Jason and I keep in touch with Lenny pretty well. And Jason and I got together for something else. Actually, I'm a partner in a Fin company. So I was talking to Jason about that. And it was funny because he was trying to put a team together at that time. And he was frustrated because Lenny had already come on board and already had like pretty much like the national A team on his team. And Justin's like, how am I supposed to get a team if Lenny already has everybody? And I was like, oh gosh, this sounds stressful. Yeah. And then everything happened with FINA. So then that didn't happen in 18 and then it got pushed to 19. And then they were like, well, let's start more teams. And so they asked Lenny if Lenny knew of anybody that they thought would be a strong female leader to be a GM for one of the American teams. And that's when Lenny suggested myself. And then that's when my meeting started with people at the league level. And then I was invited out to a league conference in Antalya, Turkey. And that's where I got offered the job. So that was February of 2019.
Have you gotten paid?
Yes.
We just heard some snippets about some late payments to vendors and everything. But has your experience been the league is on it when it comes to taking care of athletes and staff?
Yeah, I will say that sometimes it's not on time, but we get it. Everybody eventually gets paid. It's one person that is backing this whole thing financially. Obviously we need to make sure it's running successfully and to pay people is a big part of it. But yes, I am aware that late payments happen. But I also am proud to say that the payments do eventually come through.
I want to change gears to something very quickly. Kaitlin, you were on a notable relay team back in 2004 that broke an East German record. It was a record at the time, and it was a completely drugged record.
You said it. Yep.
I'm saying it. Drugged record. I didn't break it. And it was the longest standing record in the books. It was 17 years old or something, and it was quite an achievement, right? The ISL is known for not having anybody who has even tested or anything, but people are bending the rules. How do you feel about what's your opinion now, given your GM, you're out of the sport, about people who have maybe served their time, who have done their thing and they've served their time, they're taking their time off, they've even admitted it. They've admitted to saying sorry. Should they be allowed to be in the ISL if they're like, yeah, I messed up, I didn't realize that I took that, I served my time, I'm sorry, I won't do it again? I don't know.
This is an excellent question, and I have two different opinions on it. I am very against any type of doping, and I think if you do it once, you're out. And I really love that our league stands that firm. But I also, for the last 2 seasons, have fought very hard to have Madison Cox on my team, and I have fought very hard to have Ryan Lochte on my team. I do not believe that they should not be allowed into this league, but at the same time, I know you can't make exceptions either. And being in the position that I am, I respect what Constantine says. I mean, this goes all the way up to him. I've pulled records with Madison Cox's mom and have really showed the evidence supporting the reason why she should be in the league. And I believe Ryan even sent like a personal letter to the league asking to be in, and was denied as well. And I asked Constantine again this past end of last year because I think he'd be great for the league. So
Yeah.
I am I allowed to say that I see both sides very, very clearly?
No, absolutely. That's why I asked you the question, because you've seen both sides, and Ryan was who we thought about. So yeah.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think Ryan's is that was just so dumb. I just cannot, like, literally just, if he wouldn't have put that on Instagram, we would not even be having this conversation. Madison is trickier. It's definitely trickier. And I feel so badly for her. I can't even imagine. But, you know, I'm also dear friends with Jessica Hardy, and she went through something very similar. And I couldn't even imagine going through that. You know, even like in Jessica's situation, I mean, she got paid out pretty well, but I don't even think it's worth it. Like to do everything that she had to go through and what she had to lose out on and everything. It just, that has to be so scarring. And when it came to Madison, at the end, like she could have like appealed it and even kind of gotten cleared to even be in the end. Like if she would have gone one more step further, she would have been allowed in the league. But at that point, this league wasn't around, and they're just like, we just want to be over with it. We just want to be done with it. And I get that. I would have been the same way. And imagine all the money that her family was putting in and just the emotional exhaustion that has to go with that. I totally get why they did that, you know? So I think it's a great question. It's challenging for me because I do see both sides, but I'm so strongly against doping that I'm going to side with that.
So moving her, I guess, a little lighter topic. So you were obviously an amazing swimmer. You did a lot of crazy events. What would you do in an ISL event schedule?
I was actually thinking about that because I was like, I don't mean to brag, but I would be like a really good pickup for any of these teams because I swam so much. Because I could have done the 4 IM, 4 free, 2 fly, 2 IM. I could have been on relays. I could actually throw down like a pretty solid 100 fly. If my underwaters were hot, which they usually were, I could do a good 100 back. And 2 free. So, but like, it's like, look at Zach Apple. It's like, he has a gnarly day with the 2 free, 100 free relay. It's like, I feel like I would have had that same setup where it would have to be like pick and choose. I think I probably would have been that poor sucker that would have been both 400s. 4 free, 4 IM. But the thing that would have been rad about me as a pickup, it's like, because I did do the 4 free, 4 IM. You don't see that as much anymore. It's like, I do the 4 free or I do the 4 IM. There's not a lot of people that do both 4 free, 4 IM. Sometimes we would throw Zane in that. I was like, he got just broken.
Why do you think that is? That's so funny you say that. I was literally thinking about it before this started. Going, you and Eric Vent are the only two that I can think of.
I don't know. I mean, Phelps could have done that. I think Lochte could do that.
Yeah, but those guys, the other level.
They can do anything, right?
I know, right? I don't know. And I don't know if it's because, I mean, Vent and I were Schubert, right? And so like, that's like an old school mentality. And I don't know if we're getting away from that now in training, because I don't do coaching. And quite frankly, you guys, like, I do not really pay attention to times. Like, I know who's fast because of like rankings, you know, like when it comes to actual physical times, I'm like, oh, is that good? Like Jason's always like, oh, by the way, that's really fast. He's like, I know you don't know, but that's like really good. Or that's really bad. Or he'll tell me my time. He's like, Kaitlin, you're actually a distant 100 freestyler, a decent 100 freestyle. I'm like, I was? He's like, yeah, look at your time. I'm like, that's good. He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay.
That's why Cindy tried to recruit me. Now I get it. I know how fast I am.
The mark of the great GM. Yeah, the anti-Billy Bean.
So I am, you know, it's like I work really well with Cindy because I am a GM that really utilized using our head coach for recruiting. Because I know, like, because Jason knows times and stuff so well. Jason's like, boom, 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 boom. And like with me, I'm like, Cindy, what do you think? She's like, oh, let me look up this meet. Let me look, you know what I mean? And Cindy also.
But she also said that she doesn't know men's times much.
But she is a quick learn. Like she was very honest with that from the beginning. And then like by like second season, she was like so into it. But Cindy also like has such great relationships with coaches that she would reach out to coaches. So if we were thinking of this swimmer, she would go to the college coach or the coach that she knows that they're training with. And a lot of it was because, again, in 2020, it's like, we don't know what this person's doing. Like, where are they doing? Are they in a pool? Are they only like doing weights? Like, do they have a coach right now? So Cindy really did her kind of like her research, you know, and for us too, I mean, you kind of touched on it a little bit, like quality of character really meant a lot too. You know, like we didn't want to have any drama, any divas, any divos, like people that were going to be committed to the team idea. Like we asked coaches, like, is this a good pickup? Is this a good human being? Like, are they going to fit our culture well? Like that means a lot to us. Are they good role models? Are they going to be, you know, somebody that we're going to be excited to suggest to you guys to have on your show? Like we wanted people that represented DC Trident's, team culture.
You know Natalie very well, obviously, and she swam last year. Natalie, right? Yeah. You know, and she swam last year. Did she talk to you about, you know, did you guys imagine what it'd be like if she swam ISL in her prime?
Oh my gosh, I know. And I was like, because season 1 was so rad to have her, right? Like the coolest ever. And then I was like, knowing Natalie, she'll get like really competitive and get really fired up for season 2 and start training. And she's like, Kaitlin, I'm pregnant. I'm like, okay. Do you want
maybe not? like with emotion or?
But yeah, somebody or like Missy Franklin, Elizabeth Beisel. I mean, there's all these people. I was like, oh, should I reach out? Like maybe because like Natalie, like when I reached out to her, she's like, I never said I was done. Like she's like, look at this interview. I said I wanted to go to fun meets. There's no fun meets like for her level, right? And so when I told her about this, she's like, this is exactly what I wanted to do, you know? And so it was like, had this been around, like maybe you're like, yeah, I'm done trying to train for the Olympics, but maybe you're like, well, I'm going to try to be recruited, you know? Who knows? I think it will be interesting to see what people do, especially after the Olympics. And people are like, okay, I'm done. It's time to get a job. Yeah. Good luck, by the way, right now. But, or is it like, you know, I'm going to train through, try to get, you know, GM's attention, get on a team, and let's go travel the world and make some money. Like, I would pick that, especially how old are these guys? 24, 25? Like,
nothing.
Who would have been the best ISL swimmer in their peak? Luke, who do you have?
Oh, you mean somebody? Hold on.
Like at their era, if ISL was around, who would have dominated the most against their era?
And I want this to be a gender agnostic discussion. That's what I love about the ISL. It's a gender agnostic.
All right, well, give us your answer.
Coughlin.
Ask you.
Tracy.
Who?
Tracy Coughlin.
Huh. This is so hard.
That's why I'm going last. You guys all go before me, so I can get
Inga de Bruyne.
Oh, wow. You guys are really.
I am
good.
Tracy can do the I am. Tracy can go to the 2 and the 4. Tracy can go to the 1. And she can go to breaststroke if she had to. Inga didn't have the I am in her. I don't know.
No, but she was versatile on free and fly, and I feel like that
skins.
covers a lot of what's.
And who's going to jackpot? Are we considering that too? Jackpot their era? Who is dominating their era as well?
Aren't you a clean athlete though? Sorry.
What was that?
Aren't you maybe a clean athlete? Sorry.
Well, I mean, this is just like too obvious. I mean, I'm going to pick Phelps.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Phelps, which we sort of talked about, even if it wasn't his best event, he's so freaking competitive that he'd make sure he beat you. You know, like he just flips the switch and he's like, I'm taking you down. Like, even if you're like, okay, I'm going to put him in the 100 breaststroke, like he still would have like given it like a go. He is just so competitive and he is such a gamer. And I think even like skins, he would be like, okay, like put me in it. Cause he'd want to win that, right? He'd want to be the star. He'd want to like take it down. I just think across the board, he can swim every event well enough to throw down in ISL.
He's the total package. He's.
Am I going to get one of those?
Yes. No one wants to watch the 800 free. Was that the quote?
Oh, you guys.
Don't
me all day.
What did he say?
Oh, me all day.
Nailed it?
Me all day. We asked him who's the best underwater kicker. Me all day.
Oh.
Who's the fastest in the world to 15 meters? Yeah.
So good. So good.
Oh, geez. Hey, I can't let you get out of here without asking you about being in this the Madam Butterfly against the race. And I mean, you were in the pool, but I don't know. I guess maybe the best question is like, how did that impact you in your swimming career? Because you were a teenager. Were you 17?
Yeah, I was 17 and I was on a very small club team. So little backstory, like I was way more into soccer than I was into swimming when I was younger. But my swim coaches were more, what's the right word? Like persistent about like, hey, you should really start swimming more. You should really like think about maybe phasing out soccer. And I was like, oh, I love soccer. And I was really good at soccer. I was probably equally as good at soccer as I was in swimming. But when I was younger, I was really, really tiny. So I got just kind of beat up a lot, like bruised ribs, because I was really aggressive. And I would just like go. And I was just like on the floor, like on the grass more than I was like on my feet. So then I was starting to get hurt a little bit more. And my swim coaches were like, hey, you should like really consider about like maybe being done with soccer and commit more to swimming. And I was like, ooh, really? Like when I was younger, like my goal was to make World Cup. Like I wasn't like Olympics. It's like I want to play soccer in the World Cup. Yeah. And then when I slowly but surely started going to be more serious on the swimming side, I went to a club team that was more laid back in Southern California because they allowed me to play soccer and swim. So that when I gave up soccer, I just stayed on this small club team and then ended up having success there and just never left. But I didn't really have that huge team culture or teammates that were at like all these big meets together. Like I would go to nationals and be one of two or just myself after the girl graduated. So then when I got to the Olympic team and started to experience again, that team camaraderie and the pride and just the honor that we had to be surrounded by each other and really getting to know somebody and then to be in that race. And I think I've compared it to before, like you're going to have races in your life that like are more exciting just to have said that you were in it because of something special your teammate accomplished more than yourself. So when I look back on my swimming career, I was like, oh, I'm really proud of my 400 IM and the 200 fly. I got sixth. Like I wasn't even in like the video frame, like when Missy was finishing, but I was so proud to be her teammate and to experience her joy with her. Like she literally was in shock. Like she didn't believe the scoreboard when she saw it. And I like had to like, yes, you won. And I was like shaking her, So there's one of the races where like, it wasn't like my best race or it wasn't exciting for me, but it was so exciting to be her teammate in that race. And it was just, I remember getting out of the pool and like the USA area was just going nuts. And I specifically remember Phelps had like kind of like fallen over somebody that like fell over like the barricade and just like shit's going everywhere. And it's just like, oh my God, it was just such a scene, And so it was just so funny that like this like 16, what was Michael, 15 and a half or 16 year old was nuts. Everything was just like, it was chaos. And it was crazy because my mom and dad and my sister and my brother-in-law were there. And my brother-in-law said that it was like eerie silent after that because it was like, oh my gosh. Like
I was in the crowd. I was in the stands watching.
Okay.
Like Australia had just beaten the US in the 4x1 earlier. Susie was the queen of swimming in Australia. Do you remember downtown? There was an entire skyscraper with a picture of Thorpe, just a skyscraper. And I remember being on Bondi Beach at the rap party, and Misty was there because a good friend is from Trinidad who swam in Trinidad. And I remember her just being so chill and laid back, like she was just so humble about it. I was like, you just dethroned a country. You know what you just did? Yeah.
Luke went up to her, was shaking her.
But I saw recently though, it was really sad. I saw recently that Susie had like an interview about how crushing that was for her and everything that went on afterwards. And then I like really bad, and to be in this country, I'm like, but I know it's sports and I know that's how it goes, but it's like, that's not how it is for America. Right. Like we're like cool for like a minute when we get home and then it's like next. Yeah. And then, but for their culture and for their country and for their sport, I mean, that was a scarring race for her, and so it's like I'm very competitive, but I'm very compassionate. So when I learned of that, it almost like makes me feel bad, because like that made Misty's life and it was really cool for me. And that like really was a challenging time in Susie's life, to have such extremes, but she got second. She got a silver medal at the Olympics. Like my proudest moment in my swimming career is a silver medal, you know? So it's like, it's perspective.
Yeah, imagine somebody told you when you're 6 years old, when you grow up, you're going to get a silver medal in the Olympics. You're going to be happy with that? But it's how your changes. By the way, we do have something of you.
Cindy and I will be right there in the front leading the cheers, and the assistant coaches are going to have to be scrambling and running around and making sure.
I mean, that's good. It's not funny. That's dumb.
No, but we're talking to Cindy, and we just had something of you talking about being a cheerleader with Cindy and the end. But I do have something of you, so it's a warning. It will come.
Okay.
Well, that's why we had to get you on for a full length so we could have a little bit more content.
There we go. Yeah, it was crazy while we were there. It's like I felt like I was gonna have all this downtime, and we really did it. And I think, like as you guys heard, I mean, the GM does so much that it's constant. There's always something. You know, it's like the first day we get there, within like the first 3 hours, I'm getting all these texts like, my Wi-Fi is not working, my room's hot, my refrigerator's not working. I'm like, open your door. The Wi-Fi will get fixed. Like,
Oh my
turn on
God.
the- yeah. If any of my team's watching, you guys know I was not thrilled. Everybody goes to bed, and we try this tomorrow. You know, we just had the craziest travel day. I'm not even joking or exaggerating when I say the day that everybody traveled was the hardest day of my professional career, because about 85% of my team had issues getting out because of things that the airlines were doing that was not what we were set up for. So my flight wasn't until like 5 p.m. So I was going to sleep in. I was going to finish packing. My mom and my sister, my dad were going to come over for lunch. My husband was going to, like, you know, we had this whole thing planned. And I woke up at 7. My phone did not stop until I got to LAX that day with travel issues. I was talking to gate agents. I had crying swimmers on the phone. I had swimmers that were missing flights. I had swimmers running to catch flights. I had swimmers that had teammates holding flights for them to get. It was a mess. And so then we finally get there, and then we get to the room, and then it was like, this is wrong. This is. I'm like, oh my God.
Wow.
I will say that.
Whoa.
Hours. I'm like, oh shoot, what was that? It's too fast.
Whoa.
Oh yeah. The first 32 hours of the camp was so challenging, but then every single day got better. I'm like actually really, really proud of how successful this camp was, because there was a long time I didn't think the camp was going to happen, and I was worried that if it did happen, what we got there, what it would look like. But it was very impressive. It was very well.
Yeah, it all went well. It seemed like everyone had a good time. I mean, COVID cases were as good as I think it could be, right? So I think looking at the big picture of it, it's amazing it went as well as it did.
I agree. And there was fast swimming, you know, and I didn't know what to expect. I really did not understand, like, are we going to swim fast? You know, and we had some people that swam amazing. And again, there are some people that didn't, but they know it, you know, and I had to have like a pretty like honest, raw conversation with our team saying like, look, DC Trident can't be in the bottom of the barrel again moving forward. Like there's some of you that won't make the cut, and it's nothing personal, because I personally really, really liked everybody. And that's hard. It's hard being a GM, and it's hard for me because I'm a very friendly person that really believes in relationships and people in general. And it's like, it's going to be hard to be like, sorry, you didn't cut it, but sports, we got to be competitive, and there's going to be a fast crop of seniors coming out from NC2As, and it's going to be competitive.
Get that draft going.
Yeah, exactly. We need a draft.
Trident on top, or whatever that thing. How do you do it? I don't
Trident
know
up. Trident up. It was been the hard, like the hand signals were like the biggest, like we had to have one, and I'm like, guys, I can't, this is the one thing I cannot be in charge of. Okay, so I made the captains be in charge of it.
Oh, Kaitlin, thanks for hanging out with us. We'd love to do it again sometime. Cheers.
Absolutely. Cheers, guys. Thank you. Be well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.